Welcome. Today we're talking with Ellen Curry, and she's going to talk to us today about the BIT program.
Yes, thank y'all for giving me some time to speak with you all. I think your program's really important, so I'm happy to kind of share about what I do. So, my name's Ellen Curry. I am the coordinator of student care and support here at Missouri State. I started here in August of 24, so I'm still fairly new. I'm still learning all the ropes, but it feels a little bit like I've been here for a long time. So, what BIT is, to start off, it stands for Behavioral Intervention Team. We're housed in the Dean of Students office, but so we're different than like student conduct. I think sometimes people hear behavioral intervention and think that we are a part of the conduct process. We work with conduct, but we're not necessarily, we are not conduct. So we're working with students that have any kind of behaviors that might be strange or abnormal to their normal behaviors. For example, if a student is regularly attending class and then stops going to class all completely. Like that's an irregular behavior. We're dealing with students that are struggling with like mental health issues. We're dealing with students that are going through like a family crisis, a personal crisis, maybe a recent medical diagnosis. There's a really large umbrella that we cover. And so it makes for very exciting and different days up here in the Dean of Students office. And so I can kind of tell you all a little bit how our process works. So we have an online referral system. Anyone is allowed to make a referral. It can be a student, it can be a professor, it can be a family member of a student, it can be if President Williams wanted to make a referral, he could. So that's online on our Dean of Students website. And it's just like a short questionnaire. Nothing is required. You can report anonymously. We always encourage the more information, the better, so we can kind of know where to start when we're working with our students. And so once that referral is made, that comes directly to me. So I oversee a team of, there's four of us, including myself. We have one part-time position, case manager, and then we've got two GAs that also work with us. And then we are the four like case managers handling these different reports. And so we'll start with assessing the risk that a student's at. We use our national organization's risk rubric, and there's four different levels here. So they rate from mild to critical, and we have a lot of information here to help us assess those risks. So it's not just like we are kind of guessing. And then they also have suggested interventions for us to use based on those risks. We typically will start an outreach plan, whether if they're like mild, moderate, or elevated, we will start with like trying to contact them via email or phone. If a student is a critical risk to themselves or to others, we will try to make immediate contact with them, whether that's having to include campus safety or just calling them repetitively, getting housing involved to help us locate the student. Um, but so we'll start our outreach plans to try to get in contact with our students. They're typically pretty responsive, but responses from students aren't required. Not something we completely advertise, but definitely something that is true. And then what how BIT gets involved is BIT then is a weekly meeting. And I've got the list here, so I'm going to read off who all sits on BIT. So it's Dr. Andrea Weber, that's the Dean of Students. So she chairs our team. Dr. Weber's who I report to, so that's kind of our chain there. And then we also have Director of Student Conduct. We have a faculty member that sits with us. It's currently Mike Foster in the theater department. Usually the associate director sits with us from University Safety, the director of the counseling center, the associate director of residence life, We have a deputy compliance officer that sits with us, an associate general counsel, our care consultants, our case managers. So those are those people I mentioned previously. The police substation supervisor. And then we used to have, sometimes we have like, that's our core team. And then we also have an outer team that consists of like the provost office, fraternity sorority life, international student services. I'm trying to think if anyone else is on that outer core team. But there's a lot of folks, right? And we go through every student that has gotten a report that week. So every new student that comes to us. And then we also review our cases that are kind of ongoing. We are a very solution focused group. So our job is to, like I said, we get these referrals, we assess the risk, and then we try to resource out. So we're a non-clinical team. I've had students ask me before, oh, are you not my counselor? I'm like, no, not your counselor. That's why I need you to go to the counseling center. And so we refer out to so many different resources on campus. And my hopes is that, that can kind of start to include you all as y'all are working directly with our students as well. So that's kind of my long summary of what BIT is.
All right. So, so you said you meet weekly. How many frequent, is there a lot of students that you get reports on, or is it, very few or?
Yeah, so our reporting numbers have definitely I've got them right here in front of me, so don't mind me looking at my little cheat sheet. So we're definitely seeing an increase of bit numbers. It's constantly on the rise. So for example, 2020, 2021 academic year, we had 308 total bit cases. This year so far for academic year of 24, 25, we've already had 543. So to give you like some idea, last year at the end of the academic year for 23, 24, we had 900 total cases. So from 2020 to 2024, we tripled our caseload. I imagine that we will hit over that 900 number this year with reports that come in. And I do want to note that some of our students come in because we've gotten a report that they twisted their ankle and missed class for a day. So some of them are minute issues, right? But then some are much larger ongoing problems that our students are going through. And so we we meet as a team, like BIT meets weekly. Some of our students that we get reports on, we might end up never meeting with. They might just see our referral list that we send out, and that might be good enough for them. I've had students that I've met with one time. We've been able to kind of find a good solution to their current issue. And then I had students last semester, excuse me, that we met bi-weekly, almost kind of in a routine, same day, same time, just because their issue was more ongoing. And so our meetings with students is super inconsistent's kind of the best word to describe that, but our BIT meetings are every Wednesday from 10 to 10 to 12. So we have a 2-hour meeting every week with all of these people to kind of discuss our caseloads and what's all going on with students.
So every one that you get referred, you do follow up with. You reach out to that student, even if it is just that they missed the one class because they broke their ankle because somebody turned. Okay.
So we have an outreach plan for all of our students. So the student with a twisted ankle, that's a very mild issue. We just revised our mild outreach plan where really if we get a mild case, we just send them the kind of one email that states what we are, what we do. Here is what we understand is going on. And then here are resources that can help with that. If they want to meet with us as a mild student, we are happy to do so, but we don't necessarily like try to initiate meeting with them. And then once we have a student that's ranked more at our moderate level, that's when we are like, please come in and see us. And so we can kind of talk it out in person. Sometimes students will say, hey, can we just like talk on the phone? That's fine. We can meet in person. We can meet over Zoom. I've had many email chains that are like 50 emails long with students because that's just how they prefer to communicate.
Mhm.
So we don't currently use like any texting resources. It's truly just email, phone call, or in person, or kind of like we're doing now, Team or
Mhm.
Zoom or something with
Mhm.
our students. But we do touch base with every report that comes in.
Okay. And so if a student, like a mentor or a tutor, they're talking with a student who is not doing well in a class, and they basically,
Mhm.
they've kind of figured out, well, they're really just not going to class.
Mhm.
Um, would we want them to fill out a bit referral and then have someone from that group, a case manager, reach out to the student?
Yes, so that is definitely what we would want to happen, just because sometimes when if a student just completely abruptly stops going to class, now could it just be that the student doesn't want to go to class? Yes. But as we all know, students are paying a lot to go to college, and to not be going to class at all, there's typically a uh, deeper seated issue there that might be correlated with something that's going on in their personal life. Maybe they've just gone through a breakup. Maybe they are starting to experience like daily migraines. And so we're kind of the catch-all group that can meet with those students, address those issues with them, and then it might be like that they just need to be referred to a success coach, or maybe they just need to meet with their academic advisor because they're feeling overwhelmed and stressed in their major, and they want to change majors, but they don't know how. So they just kind of stopped going to
Mhm.
class because they're just over it. Um,
Mhm.
and so definitely something where a behavior just kind of abruptly changes, or even if it's a slow progression in change, we would 100% appreciate a report on that.
So it's not like you mentioned this earlier, so I just kind of want to reiterate it,
Yeah.
that it's not like someone's done something really bad. It's just behaviors that are different than normally they would follow as a student.
Yeah. And if there is something that's happened that's really bad, we also want that report. So, when I say it's truly just anything kind of out of the normal. Now, if a
Mhm.
student doesn't go to class for one day because they have a headache, that's normal, right?
Right.
We've done that, I've done that, everyone's done that. But like I said, if they haven't gone to class, 5 days in a row or 5 Mondays in a row, or if they were making straight A's and B's and now they're seeing more C's and D's, those are different behaviors that we're looking for. If they're starting to like be more aggressive with you or with themselves, or if you're noticing that maybe they aren't eating as much or they're eating a lot more, or they're starting to say things that might sound harmful to themselves or to others, those are also
Mhm.
things that we would like to see, especially since we partner with so many other campus resources and offices. We're able to kind of come together and find a solution. And in some cases, we do have to have like a critical response meeting if a student is exhibiting more dangerous behaviors. And so kind of to refer back to our scale here, which you can
Mhm.
find on our Dean of Students website, I believe. Our D scale is measuring life stress and emotional health. That's where we're seeing most of our students, from
Mhm.
students that are going through normal college stressors to incredibly high suicidal ideation, somewhere over there. That's most of our students. But we do also measure hostility and violence towards others, and that's measuring on our E scale. We don't see as many of those, but we are the team that's helping watch out for those kinds of things. And if we need to assess out to like our risk management team, and people that can kind of dive deeper into potential
Mhm.
threats to
Mhm.
others on campus.
Mhm. So if a tutor or a mentor or someone refers someone to a bit team, don't
Mhm.
feel bad about it. Instead,
No.
they're referring you to or they're referring the student to someone who's going to help them, to reach out to them and not think that they're a terrible person.
Right. Yeah. So we want you to report anything. And so don't ever feel like one that you could over report. But also I do want to clarify, because I haven't really said this, is that you can report anonymously, but even if you don't report anonymously, it's not often that we're sharing with the student where this report came from. For example, I worked with a student last semester, that was having various classroom disruption issues and would get very frustrated with himself in class. And so I ended up getting reports from like 3 of the professors. And so when he asked me, well, who even told you about this? I don't ever specify like, oh, it was Miss Garland, or oh, it was Miss Curry, because we don't need to make anyone feel bad about reporting, and we don't want to anger the student. Often the students know where the report's coming from. Like I've worked with a student that has told their academic advisor, well, I just can't do this anymore. My life's too stressful. I'm just done. Which there's not a direct threat there, right? But what does I'm done mean? Does done mean I'm done with school? Are you done with life? And so their academic advisor will write a report. I'll meet with the student and they're like, oh, well, is it because I told my academic advisor I'm done with life, or I'm done? And I just kind of will say, if that's a conversation that you think would be concerning enough to have a referral, then that might be where the referral came from. So yes, there's no thread behind submitting a bit referral, because it's typically anonymous unless it's like important that the student know, but that's typically not important to them.
Well, I think that kind of covers everything that I would have any questions about. Is there anything else that you would need to share that you think that you haven't covered yet?
Well, I definitely think we've covered a lot, and it's a lot of information. I also want people to know that we are always open to a phone call if people are just like, hey, I met with this student that I'm mentoring, and this was kind of weird, but I don't know if it's weird enough that it really needs to like have a complete referral written on. We're happy to talk over the phone. I've helped people draft emails. I've had people, talk about how to vocalize working through an issue with a student in a classroom. So we're here to help the students. We're also here to help mentor, staff, faculty, and kind of guiding or navigating through some of these unique situations. And we're just here to help. And we are happy to do that in whatever capacity is helpful to the person that needs the help.
Okay, great. And you want to remind us again, where can we find the form and where are you located?
Yes, so I am housed up in the Dean of Students office, which is in PSU. So we're in PSU 405. There's a whole slew of us up here. So if you come looking for help, you might not always get me, but you might get someone on my team. You can find our referral by going to the Missouri State Dean of Students website, searching for submit an online bit referral. It's really easy to find. We might be changing the location of that at some point in the semester, and if so, I will let Diana know and where we've moved that form. We're trying to make it a little easier. It's already pretty easy, but we're trying to make it a little easier for folks. And so you should be able to find it just on our website, or if you just even Googled like Missouri State BIT, we come up, and we are here for you all.
And that BIT is the Behavioral Intervention Team.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you spending your time with us today. And it's been very informative. And I hope it helps out our students.
Yes. So, well, thank you all so much for having me. If you do ever submit a bit referral, we respond to all of our reporters too, so you'll know that we've gotten it and that we're taking care of your student. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.